Okay. Good morning. It's September 21st, 2023, 10 a.m. at our Magna Water office, 8885 West, 3500 South, General Office Building. Call the meeting to order. Will you all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to welcome public and guests. And before we get started at the diocese today, we've got Clint Dilley, Nathan Bracken, Dallas Henline, Jeff White, Mick Sudbury, Danny Stewart, Leal Fitzgerald, Andrew Sumption, Raymond Mondragon, and Trevor Andre. Does anybody here today have anything they want to address the board to? Okay. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with anything on the agenda?
Sure.
Okay, so let's move on to approval of common consent items.
Minutes of the regular board meeting held August 10th, 2023. Expenses for August 1st to September 10th, 2023. General expenses, $1,427,759.56. Science Bank bond, $167,376.88.
Second it.
Been motion second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, let's go on to item G. Clint, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pleased to be able to report to the board and the members of the meeting here today some positive feedback that our front office team has received from our customers. Had a voicemail from a customer that Virginia had helped, and on the voicemail, she mentioned that she was just very pleased with how professional Virginia handled her interaction, and she made the comment that her customer service skills were excellent.
Awesome.
So want to thank Virginia for that. It's always nice to have a customer compliment instead of complaining, right?
And we as the board like that very well, because then we don't get no calls.
And then we've got the team here, Virginia, Mikey, Mandy, and Kim, that dealt with a fairly difficult situation with a landlord and renter. And Leal helped as well, and maybe she'll be able to describe the situation a little bit. And after that, I'll tell them what the landlord left on my voicemail.
If I remember correctly, you guys will have to help me, but we had obviously a landlord and a tenant. The tenant has been not a very good tenant to the landlord. They owe him lots of money. They hung an eviction notice. Am I on the right path? Okay. Eviction notice and gave him the 3 days, and they wanted the water off. They wanted a ma out, and anyway, so our girls just handled the landlord, satisfied her. The tenants, I think, are still there, but we're waiting for a complete legal order to shut the water off and get them out. But it was kind of hectic. I did call Nathan on that one. So.
Does that file under, does that go under, help me out, under, help me.
Under duress?
No. So like if you don't shut the water, if you shut the water, the Board of Health is what I'm trying to say with that.
So
So if there's kids living in the house, you really can't shut the water off, right?
the law is that we cannot get involved. The law prohibits us as a public water supplier from getting involved in eviction proceedings while the proceedings are pending. And that's part of the reason why, is that just because someone serves an eviction notice on a property doesn't mean that the landlord necessarily has the right to evict them. It's just the start of that process. And so when you have a disputed eviction where the tenants say, hey, no, I didn't violate the lease, or you can't evict me, then the court has to get involved, and then the court will eventually issue an order that requires them to leave. And so when you're in the middle of that process where the tenants are still in the building and they're disputing what the landlord's trying to do, we can't get involved. And a lot of landlords will try to get the water company to shut off the water so that it becomes unlivable, and then the tenants have to leave, but that creates a health issue. And so that's why the law says, public water suppliers, you can't get involved in eviction proceedings. But once the court does issue an order and says these people have to leave, and then they're there legally and they're squatters at that point, then I think we are authorized, once the eviction proceedings have concluded, to do what the landlord wants. But we're not there yet, and so we still have to provide water.
So the compliment was about over a minute of her just saying, hey, this issue has involved pretty much all of your staff, because, you know, that's an education.
Right.
It's hard for a landlord to know, especially if I don't know that she has a lot of properties, she may. But it's always a challenge when someone wants to leverage any means they can to get a renter to pay, when we have to balance that with what we can do and how we can help them. But she walked away feeling like, hey, your staff cares about me and my concerns, and wanted to express her thanks.
And we want to thank you guys too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So wanted to give you guys a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. In that situation, does the tenant sign up for water for that property, or is it the landlord's responsibility?
Depends on the lease. Some leases, for instance, in a commercial setting, a lot of the commercial settings, the landlord will pay the utilities for the building and then just charge the cost to the tenant. A lot of residential leases, the tenant will be responsible for getting service. And so that's why it gets complicated for us, because the tenant's the one that has the account, and the tenant's current, and we don't have a basis to shut them off
Yeah,
there.
well, I mean, we don't have any way to lien them either. If they don't pay the bill, then we're stuck.
Well, and that's usually handled through most contract releases will say, hey, if this property gets lien, you know, you gotta indemnify me. And so
And that's something that we've struggled with. Leal can tell you how we currently handle that.
For a lot of years and until up about 6 months ago, we only let owners sign up for service. Our contract was definitely through the owner.
Okay.
Recently, as CW Farms, Gablers Grove, and DR Horton has come online, they rent out a lot of their units. And so we've just now started accepting renters to sign up. But ultimately, we make the landlords understand, if the renter leaves, you're picking up the bill if they leave us with anything.
we get paid either way, is really what it comes down to.
Should we make, we're gonna see this more often because people can't sell the house because interest is so high. Should we be making up some kind of agreement form where both the tenant and the landlord sign an agreement with us?
That's exactly what my thought goes to.
When we're trying to force those renters to sign the same application card as we have
As the
for
owner.
owners.
Okay.
Mhm.
But I have a question for you, and this is just, and I don't know how much I'm not positive that this is true, but apparently we have a developer down in Gablers Grove that actually goes under an HOA, but apparently they're renting them townhomes out, and they're making them come in and sign up for water. But the question I have, it should be paid through the HOA, because that's how all them houses are in there are all paid through the HOA.
Each HOA, I think, handles what they provide differently. So some HOAs might only provide park maintenance or common space maintenance. Some may charge or provide water and sewer. Some may provide cable. It just is really dependent on what the HOA service is.
Should we possibly have an agreement though where we tie up the owner of the property so that we have some rights?
Al can tell you how we.
There might be something in the agreement now, but when that agreement that they sign, they know that they are ultimately responsible for the bill because they are the owner.
A legal
Now,
one.
there could be a layer of protection, just have them acknowledge that if this renter leaves, I know that this is gonna be my issue. We could do that, but if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
There is a-
you've got a flaky tenant, and then you've got an HOA that may not be keeping up on payments. And so you've got some situations there that really ultimately our responsibility is to the landowner because we're furnishing that building, right? I'm just wondering if we need to have some more teeth there.
We could talk to legal about it, but we've already had renters skip town and we've transferred the balance over to the landlord.
Yeah, so the thing to understand about, I think it's a good idea to get an agreement, but we don't need an agreement to get repaid because of the way that the lien statutes are set up.
Oh, okay.
And so basically, the way that the statute is set up is if that property has an amount owing to us, we lien the property. And then the property owner has to pay us. And so we can get paid whether or not, regardless of who's paying the bill, because we have the ability to lien the property.
Okay.
And so typically, most landlords will have provisions in their agreements that, hey, if you don't pay the utilities and, I get liened, I can go after you. But that's not really our concern. We don't need to get in the middle of their deal. We just need to get paid.
Yeah.
I think the benefit of an agreement is that it gives us another tool that we can use to avoid having to do a lien in the first place. It's an ability for us to just go to the property owner and say, hey, when you signed this up, you agreed that if your tenant didn't pay, you would pay. They're in arrears, please pay this amount by X date or we're gonna lien the property. We don't need that agreement to lien the property, which is our last resort, but it helps sometimes to get them to pay so we don't have to go through the lien process.
Because what does it cost us to lien something?
It's a very nominal cost.
Is it?
We can, it's the same as lien, we call it certification. So if ownership hasn't changed on the house and we see a delinquent account, we send a certification over to the county and they'll put it on.
Pretty easy process,
We
relatively.
just email them.
Yeah.
It's an easy process. The downside with liens is that sometimes people just ignore them. Usually when you get the lien paid is when the property sells or
Yeah.
something like that. And 'cause-
That wakes them right up.
Every November.
yeah, but sometimes if you just have, where it's more of a, usually landlords are pretty diligent about that because they want that asset to remain at its highest value in case they need to sell it. But sometimes you'll just get someone that's like, well, I don't care. I'm not selling the property, so I'm just gonna sit it, just accrue and accrue. And there are other things we can do when that happens, but it gets a little more difficult at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Clint. I'm gonna turn this over to you for, the manager report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staffing, I'll leave to Andrew and the team to highlight a couple of those things. I just hit on a couple items from the report you have in your packet there. I wanted to highlight some progress that Leisle and Raymond has made with our meter supplier. They have looked into, done an actual evaluation on converting to AMI for our meters. With basically what they do is they come out and see how many towers we would need, correct? And where we could locate those and how effective, how cost prohibitive or what is the cost to us to move that direction? And Leisle, would you mind giving them an update? Pretty positive results I took away from that.
Yeah, I think so. Trevor's been involved.
Yeah.
We've been working with our Neptune, who's the distributor for our meters that we use. And we provide them like a map of our district, and then they came back with suggested locations for antennas with a range of height, like 30 feet to 50 feet. And then they told us, well, if you put a 50-foot tower here, you're gonna get 40% of your customers AMI, and that's AMI is where we're getting the data every 15 minutes from these meters. So it's better to analyze. So we've just been going back and forth with them. We've got costs of each antenna, so if we want to put up 1 or 5, we'll know the cost. And yeah, once we get going on that AMI system, it will be phenomenal.
I think the advantage is customers want more information to make better decisions, right? And this is something that a lot of water providers have. A lot of the bigger districts with more resources have this in place. A lot of the districts like our size have been putting in AMR meters that can convert to AMI. We've been doing that for a long time in preparation for this. But this last step of collecting the data remotely without having to go through the town and pick it up, and then being able to convert it into something that's usable and can be included for the customers to access. I think our plan is to budget for some of that next year, that first step. If the board is supportive, we think that's a positive.
Can our existing meters be converted?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
We've been.
Or
putting
added
those
on, I
in, I think,
There's
for the
actually
last
no
5 years.
physical change to the meter that you need to make.
Correct.
Oh,
Yeah,
just the electronics that are on
it's
it?
just a collection of it.
Okay. Huh.
So.
So have they told you how big of a antenna they need?
So right now, the recommendation that gets the most coverage of our service area is 5 50-foot locations. So those towers could be standalone, they can be on top of a building that's already 30 feet high, and you're just going an additional 20 feet, get that total of 50. So our approach would be to put one up that we, in an area where we own the infrastructure, where we know power is, and we can put a tower up that's gonna collect a big portion of our connections.
Okay.
And then, kind of review how that process went, and then expand on that to.
Do we maintain the towers, all the equipment on the towers, or do they?
Yeah, and all it is, same as our radios that we
yeah.
use for all of our SCADA. It's that same, it's a pole, and then there's an antenna on top, and down at the ground level is where the unit sits. And there's cable connecting the two, and power source to that unit.
Okay.
And then that antenna just,
So we
every
don't,
15
we don't need to
minutes.
service the antenna then?
No,
Okay.
very simple process, and everything you need to get to is down at ground level
Okay.
and accessible.
Yeah, because I was looking at a few people now, and it's quite costly now to get up. If you've got a satellite dish or something you've got to work on that's, up there. I had one at 75 feet.
Yeah,
But they've got telescoping towers now that you can crank up, and then they have the 3-point lattice units, and then they have another one that's a tilt up that you
yeah.
hook
so those
onto
are
and
good-
pull it, and it stands up. But
Good thoughts as
if we don't
get
have to
into-
work on it, then,
Yeah, I mean, eventually you may need to replace your antenna. If, maybe something happened to it, got struck by lightning or wind or debris or whatever.
yeah, the telescoping one has been about the most cost effective,
Yeah,
because
those are
if
good.
you have to rent a boom lift every time you go up 50 feet,
Yeah,
the most normal, cheapest one is 40 feet, so you gotta get the 60-footer to do a 50, so.
so, yeah, those are good points. We'll look into that as we go. So, yeah, really, we're planning this maintenance building right over here. It's 25 feet tall.
Okay.
We'll put one on top that's got power, and that'll be our introduction into AMI.
And we're already gonna put a new tower up here at the water tank, aren't we, putting a new tower?
Well, there is that antenna for the SCADA.
Okay.
But that one, if we have one here, it'll cover anything that one would.
Oh, okay,
So,
cool.
All right, and one other item I wanted to highlight, I know the board had some concerns about all the Google Fiber and the requests and demand on blue staking, and talked with Dallas, and he confirmed that we reached an all-time high in September on blue stake requests. So, one thing that we talked about, Dallas, is how do we reduce the burden and reduce the likelihood of having to go back out and remark if they're not maintaining, and I'll have Dallas kind of explain. He's actually been working with Blue Stakes, and they've got a new initiative, right?
Sure. So I think it starts with you know, we're not the only one that is getting multiple requests for the same location. So sometimes it's even to the point where a contractor is trying to decide where they can put a utility, and they're calling in Blue Stakes to see where the other utilities are so they can kind of design around that. So ourselves, other contractors, they're seeing excessive requests. So what Blue Stakes has done is they've created basically what you would call initiative to reduce the unnecessary Blue Stakes. So if a contractor has a call that's come in and he wants a subdivision marked or whatever the case may be, you know, at the expiration of that locate request, there's now stipulations. You can't continue to call that in. You've got to update it appropriately. That way we don't just have open-ended tickets where we're continuing to mark our assets and maybe the contractor's already moved on. So that's one way that we're gonna be able to reduce some of this repetitiveness. It's also become an issue with the paint suppliers. So all this Google Fiber install and all the other assets going in the ground, you know, we're having to get paint from 2 or 3 suppliers. And we're now going right to the manufacturer as how much paint we're using. So hopefully this will cut down. Not only is it a strain on operations, but, you know, it's a lot of time out in traffic, maybe unnecessarily for the boys, so.
Is there a reason why we just don't contract out with Blue Stake and have them come out and mark the locations instead of us doing it?
I don't think they know where it is.
It's certainly an option, but we lose that information and that knowledge in-house that helps us respond.
Because I know after, you know, if we mark and then after 30 days, they don't do remark, I'd thought, and I'd have to ask legal counsel, I think it would come with a cost on, because I'm laughing, they came in my subdivision and marked it all, and then they turned around and overlaid the road. And so now the road's been overlaid, now the marks are gone, and they haven't even came in with Google Fiber yet even, I mean.
Part of this initiative includes some additional fines or additional compensation if somebody were to be negligent and continue to enter these requests.
And I think the MSD and the county and everything are all screwed up. They don't communicate back and forth with each other.
Yeah, sure.
And it's just like they turn around and have us go out and mark everything, and then they turn around and I had a new road put in last year, and then they come over and do an overlay over it. It's like,
To your point about hiring them out, I think one thing that we recognize as operations team is the training that the guys get as they're doing these Blue Stakes. So if we were to hire this out, then they wouldn't see where our pipes are, they wouldn't see where
and
our valves are.
I understand that part of it a lot, but I don't also want us to get behind on our work where we can't do our work.
Sure. I think one key point that I would make here, Mr. Chairman, is when we brought on the 4th collection system operator 18 months or 2 years ago, part of that was in anticipation for the Blue Stake. So it doesn't affect operations in a negative way and what you might think. We've been able to find a good balance. It's just
Well, as long as we can keep do our work and not get behind, I don't have a problem with it, but I know it takes 2 of your guys and sometimes 3.
Right.
And so it pulls you right off the collection crew. So we can't, you know, camera, we can't go out and protect our, you know, check our sewer lines and that, you know, like we're doing every day if we're doing this.
sure.
But that's something we need to take into consideration, because if that's gonna start taking a priority, then I think we need to look at it a little different.
Sure.
Unless there's anything else?
No, I'm good.
Sorry, Mr.
Yes.
Chair. This is what all of our file cabinets
Oh,
turned
yeah.
into.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's
All the files.
updated
All your
in
file
file
cabinets.
cabinets as on here, except
No
for the
way.
last
There's
little
all
bit.
that
All
room
your
in the
information
basement?
right there.
Isn't that crazy?
That took up the whole basement.
Okay, so where do you put it?
In the safe?
In our
Lock it in the safe.
It's in my drawer right now, but,
We better
We'll
make
be
a backup
starting-
to that. huh?
I know, backup.
Yeah, back up the backup.
We'll start putting it on the server.
That's
and
pretty
start-
cool.
Is that funny?
Unbelievable.
Good.
Yeah,
Wow.
I want to compliment Leal and the whole team.
Yes, I do too.
The UCI did it all.
Yeah, but they need direction, right, on what to
Yeah.
do and how to do it. And
Okay,
You've done a good job.
Thought it was funny. Thank you.
Thank you.
is that, okay. Is that all you have?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's move it on to Andre, to Trevor.
Thank you, Board and Chair. So the engineering report, we'll just go through on some highlighted stuff here. First thing would be the reuse project. Moving along pretty well, getting concrete pours. The wet well portion of that pump station and the walls are all poured. Doing some internal walls. That concrete was done last week, Thursday, right?
Correct.
So 14th. So that's moving along well. We'll start to see, some more stuff closer to grade and the block coming, fairly soon. So I'm glad to see that moving along well. Then some updates on recent one that started was the wastewater, the facility plan update or the master plan update. We've got, working with Stantec, they've created a sampling plan, and what that sampling plan will do is help build a model of our treatment facility that will give us a lot of information on the organics, how the treatment plan is, processes, all working together. Show some of the future needs and existing operation of that. As part of that, we have some expanded sampling that we are doing in that sampling plan. It'll be Chemtech samples that go to Chemtech for analysis. Our crews will be collecting the majority of those. And that comes a little bit of a cost increase over what we normally do for sampling, so wanted to make you aware. The estimate on that additional expansion in the sampling is around 21,000.
How long does that go for?
So it's
Is it a
a pretty
one-time
quick
thing?
sampling window. It'll be about 2 weeks, starting in October.
Okay,
And we'll collect a lot of data that will support that facility plan.
and it'll be a one-time thing?
Yeah.
Because I believe weather has a big deal on our sampling.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
if we did it in the dead of winter, would probably be worst case scenario, right?
Right, so.
Like January when it's freezing?
Correct. I think the way that we've approached this is we're taking this 2-week sample period that Trevor's talking about, that is looking heavily at some of our organics and our metals, and then we're pairing that with our historical data. That way, we have a good look at the different seasons like you're talking about. This data will represent what's happening right now, and when we compare that to the historical data, it'll tell us what's happening at high temperatures, low temperatures, storm situations, things like that.
I just
So,
wonder, because it seems like January is our worst time.
Sure, January and February, you're right.
Does the ditch stay about the same temperature when it's working?
The highest and lowest variation is about 8 degrees.
That's it? Oh, okay.
So,
But yet cold weather really affects our situation.
yeah, the way the biology reacts, so it's just a little slower. I think it's somewhere on the order of 70 degrees is the warmest temp, and then it can get down to about 60, 59, so not too much. 8 to 12 degrees.
But it affects them. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
So
This
we-
is I just want to take a minute. This is a testament to the team. This is a real step forward for us, and I want to acknowledge Dallas and Bo and Trevor and the whole team that they're taking sampling and building a model, right, to simulate different scenarios that he can then test and tweak to see what any changes he would
Absolutely.
consider making. That's heads and shoulders of where we.
Well, we left it up to the contractors and it fell flat. And
I
he
just
found
think
it
it's
out.
worth that investment
Yep,
to get better data
absolutely.
and make better decisions, and so I just want to compliment them.
Awesome.
Great job.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Basement remodel, we've gotten kind of a furniture plan. We've looked at some of the desks, the materials that would go into that, some colors. We've got some chairs here at the office that are being tested out by staff. We've got some conceptual plans. So we plan to put together a total list of pieces with it, and then they'll put a cost to that we can discuss further before approval to order all of that, so.
Did we get our lights not changed out downstairs? Did we get them all to the bright, what we were talking about?
So some of the bulbs in the main room need to be changed out.
Oh, they have?
But that's it. Otherwise, the rest of the rooms are ready.
Okay,
So we'll be coming back with some recommendations on the furniture, and if you are interested in sitting in a chair to see, and we can talk about that maybe after, or,
I only have to sit in this chair for an hour, so I'm good.
yeah, there's some positive feedback on the chairs. 7200 West, 3100 South, to Beagley Lane secondary project. So that is a pretty significant project in that it's on 7200 West. So we've had our meeting with our consultant. We've got a good alignment identified, all of the needs of valving and connections, services, all those things taken into consideration, and they're moving forward on producing 90% design drawings. So that's moving through the design process well. And then Zone 3 secondary water reservoir, you know, slow moving because of the purchase of the property, but we have got word from Northrop Grumman that they're working on
An agreement.
putting together the agreement for the purchase of that
Do
property.
they have a time frame, or this just whenever they
Boy,
want?
I wish they would provide a good time frame. So
So we've had to stop our stuff until they.
yeah, we're on hold around 40 to 50% on the design until, you know, even though we've been told and they're working on the agreement and it all seems
So
great.
can we, bug them a little bit to see?
So monthly, I'm sending an email.
Okay,
Hey, just check it in. Now it's, hey, you've got the agreement being, you know, worked on.
We seem to get some more response when we went up and met with,
Yeah, that kicked off them
we can do that
moving it
again.
forward.
Maybe it's
I
time.
thought, is there
maybe it's
somebody
time we
above
do
the
that.
people we're working for that we,
Uh,
not hurt to have that information?
yeah, getting
In case
it,
there's
getting it would be the challenge.
The biggest challenge with them is they're a national
Right.
company
Yeah.
with executives in other states.
Yes.
So,
And you know, we started out working with Kennecott, and they gave us access to the contact for their, you know, land purchase. We had a meeting with him, he's worked with us, told us they're working on the agreement. So I hate to skip over him.
yeah.
It'd be nice once in a while if you could say, hey, can you help these guys hurry up? And they'll say, what the hell's taking so long?
yeah.
So, but I understand your concern.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm happy that they've told us they're working on that agreement, and I'll keep.
Maybe showing up in person
I'll
after you
keep
send an
nudging
email
them.
would help, if in person helps, huh?
Yeah, see if we can set up another.
Hey, how you
just
coming? Let's
talk.
see your,
Can we set up a meeting to go over the agreement?
There you go.
So, but other than that,
but Trevor, sometimes the holdup might not be the guy.
Yeah.
It could be their legal department.
sure,
Yeah.
exactly.
Almost government.
Yeah, those legal departments.
Well, that's the update, unless you have any
We don't,
specific
I will say
questions.
we don't have that problem.
No, we don't.
That's because we're local.
Everybody looks at him, you know.
You could offer and say, hey, we can help you with that. if you want.
Okay, Raymond, how about your water report?
Water production summary. The Conley water production for the month of August was 212.3 million gallons, or 651.68 acre feet. A 3.141 decrease from 2022. Year-to-date was 1,139.03 million gallons, or 3,495.81 acre feet. A 4.76 decrease from 2022. We have purchased 541.08 acre feet of water from Jordan Valley as of now. Secondary water production for the month of August was 61.49 million gallons, or 188.72 acre feet. A 1.75 decrease from 2022. Year-to-date was 218.58 million gallons, or 670.85 acre feet, a 6.73 increase from 2022. Call-out report, water and wastewater combined. Total number of call-outs, 15, 13 being water, 2 being sewer. 2 mainline breaks, 3 service lines, total hours 83. Water 77, wastewater 6. That is my water production for the month of August.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Randy.
Okay, Dallas.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to highlight 2 rehab projects the collections crew has completed recently. They lined 700 feet of 8-inch pipe in the collection system that had some damage. We noticed it during a routine inspection and then budgeted to have that repaired this year. And then Duke's Root Control will be out here in the next week, and they've got 10,000 linear feet of sewer where they'll do some chemical root control. So, and then I think we covered our wastewater treatment plant pretty well. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the power issues. We've got a little bit of headway that we've made there. We've kind of been working at a lower level with some of the operators that come out and some of the, what maybe your typical residential troubleshooting people would do. But we've since been able to move up to our regional manager that's over the power. We've sent some of our power loss data to them as far as generator runtime frequencies, and he's committed to kind of investigating that and looking at some potential upgrades, not only at the plant, but in and around the area on the lines that feed the plant. So just wanted to keep the board aware of that. It's something that we're working on. I report power outages. That's what a majority of our call outs are for. So as we continue to get more commitment from RMP and we get a little clearer vision of what we need to do and maybe what they'll be willing to do, we'll bring that back. So,
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
and that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Hey, Leal, I'm gonna turn it over to you now.
Okay, thank you. This is the compliance legal requirements checklist, and so I just wanna go down through it with you. Third quarter obviously is ending at the end of this month. There'll be some reports due to the board and due to the transparency website that will be done. Basically, all in all, we're in compliance. The next one is disclosure regarding responsibility. Okay, so technically by law, we have to, as a water district, inform the homeowner semi-annually that this portion of your line is your responsibility and this is our responsibility. We have to inform the residents.
Do we still get that a
twice year.
lot? Do we still get that a lot though from people call out and they'll say, it isn't ours, well, you go out there and it is, I mean, cause is people pretty much educated now, cause I know I know it used to be in the past, it was a mess.
I don't hear
When
this
it's,
often.
when it's in the meter box, that's just
Yeah.
maybe if it's,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
in
that's
the
true.
meter
Okay.
itself.
Yeah, that's when it gets confusing.
Okay.
So we continue to do that semi-annually on the billings. The annual trustee training is coming up. I know you're all excited. It's the UASD annual conference.
November,
November, I don't remember the dates, probably 2nd, 3rd, 4th, I wanna say, but that's just guessing. So my apologies, I can get that for you. But that's coming up, just so you know. Employee performance evaluations, we're planning on having that all to the board in October, if I'm correct, Clint. Anyway, so that's coming up.
were we reviewing them, and maybe I'm just in the night, was we reviewing them every quarter? Is that what we were going to do, is review
So
them?
we've been meeting every quarter with their managers and then going over, making sure that we're staying on track and giving an update to the employees. And then in October, we're gonna have all of our done and back with our final meeting with Clint by October 31st. And we'll have all the information for you by the November board meeting.
Okay, is that when we get your guys' reviews too?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, sorry about that.
no, sorry.
No, don't be sorry at all. So obviously, the elections are going on behind the scenes. There was a September 18th deadline for any write-in candidates. That's obviously passed. No one came in for a write-in. There's a deadline of September today, I believe, that the candidates can get a profile on the county's website, if they would like.
Put a picture up there.
Picture or a write-up
Yeah.
or anything like that. And then the election coming up November 21st.
That's so weird that it's so
I know.
far away.
And then the canvas after that. So just a reminder, we'll probably have to have a special meeting that day
Okay, great.
or a week after. And then another thing, I apologize, there's not an insert, but that I'd like to bring up, Clint and I, or he talked to me about maybe some desire the trustees may have for calendar invites.
Reminders. I
Specific
think
or,
there's some concern over,
Yeah, I would like to have some reminders in our book because we talk about a lot of this stuff. And then myself, I kind of space it off, and then like the luncheon last week that you said, oh, I didn't, usually I'll put it in my book, but you know, I just think it's great, you know, when we talk about this stuff, we need to have reminders, put reminders, yes.
we talked about a couple of
Would it be
methods.
advantageous for myself or Lyle, somebody to send you a text, an email?
That would work.
Sure.
That would be perfect.
I think if we could do calendar invites in Outlook, do you guys,
I do.
is that something that help? Do you use Outlook calendar or a Google calendar? Does your email? Okay, so,
Or just send out, it doesn't matter, just
we
as
can.
long as we get a
We can
reminder.
do both. Maybe it's a calendar invite, which sends an email as well,
Okay.
and then a text. But I think we thought that board meetings, obviously, we can get that electronically sent out.
Yeah, that's my fault, because I should have relayed the message on, and then I don't know what I did,
No,
so.
that's, no,
I was the
it's
only
our
one that
job to,
remembered.
You
office,
didn't till I told you.
any office events, like we'll include that.
Yeah.
Any, trainings
Yeah.
and conferences, even if you're not attending,
Just an invite.
just so that you know what's going on. Is there anything else? that-
No, yeah, so I appreciate, like Dallas, you put me on that action last week with the call out, you know, with the main line. But all I really want to be notified on is if there's a break and where the break's at. I mean, like I said, it's like, what, is this me? Is that, no, it's like, and I appreciate you doing that. But if you guys will just put me on if there's a break, then that way I can contact the trustees and say, hey, if you get a call, the break's at 8,000 and 3,100. And, because I always get calls when people don't have water.
Yeah.
And I've talked to Dallas. so we
Yep,
can
yep.
get it worked out.
But no, I appreciate that, so. Yeah, that's all I need to know about it, where the break is, and I'll notify these guys and let them know, and then if somebody calls in, which we always get calls.
So I think we can there's room for improvements there. We can,
No, it's great, it's just that, yeah,
yeah, we can do, more, notification.
because I was gonna text in and say, okay, that should be done in an hour.
Yeah.
put your comments in there along with them.
No, I talked to Dallas and Raymond on Sunday, so.
What's taking so long?
So we can, I guess, start a process, and if it becomes cumbersome, or you don't like it, or you have a different idea of notification, just let us know.
We're pretty simple
can-
though,
We're flexible, and,
so are we,
Do
we're
the
just
best we
pretty,
can.
yeah.
and that's all I have.
All your report, okay, awesome. Okay, Andrew, let's hear your report. This big old manual.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna tee up. One thing I asked Andrew to do, it's not listed, but I think it's about the year mark since we've brought Andrew on the team. And I'm pretty excited to see all of the things that he's been able to help us accomplish as part of that team. He's kind of that puzzle piece that having him in now, we've got a really solid team to be able to accomplish some of these goals that have been challenging. So I asked him to just kind of highlight a few of the things that he's been able to help us accomplish for the board.
So this was kind of an interesting exercise to do a year-end review. I think it's something that maybe we ought to do more often, that you look
On
back and
ourselves.
see what's accomplished. Maybe you can gain some value from that. But some of the highlights that obviously this isn't an exhaustive thing, but some of the highlights that I thought of after Clint asked me about it was, if you'll remember when I first came on, we met with all the employees. We were able to put together a SWOT analysis for the board to let them know where the company was at. We did a total compensation analysis to try and stay competitive. We were able to successfully negotiate a union contract with the help of the management team and the board. We started a wellness program. We do monthly health challenges, and as well kind of enlighten them on some of the things with their mental health and stuff like that. I think there's been great reception to that. We created a safety committee. The safety committee is now providing the district with OSHA required inspections that we weren't performing before. Keeps us in line with that. We were able to keep, with the board's direction, we were able to create an activities committee that planned our 4th of July party, summer party, then the end of summer party, and as well as the upcoming Christmas party. Through conversations with the board, we were able to update the company's employee appraisal program. As Mick pointed out, we've adjusted that to be quarterly reviews, as well as adding some additional things to track their performance. In efforts to improve our company's culture and accountability, we've been able to provide each employee training on Arbinger Outward Mindset. We were able to complete that this month, was the final course of that.
So I got a question for you on that. What's your feedback on that?
I think it's been positive. I think a lot of people are taking it to heart. One of our leads came to me with an idea that as part of one of our monthly challenges that we tie it around some of the stuff that we learned in Arbinger. And so I think it's been an overall positive.
Okay, because like I said, it's good if you can get the people to buy into it.
So just an example, having just a general conversation with one of our operators, and they, in a casual way, mentioned, talked about something that was
Awesome.
part of Arbinger. So I was like, whoa, they've already implemented it into their own thought process and the way they.
And the thing is, I want to remind you guys is we got to continue to keep doing it. Let's not just start something and then let it slough off and then it goes away and then we got to rebuild it again.
So-
And all companies, not just us, a lot of companies where I worked at done it. It goes along, everybody buys into it, and then it goes away. And then what happens is next time you have to bring it back up, nobody wants to participate.
So what the plan is with that is Arbinger also provides you with discussion plans so that you can continue to follow up on it. And so what we'll do is from here on out, I will attend a morning meeting with each crew each month, and I'll do discussions about Arbinger and trainings about Arbinger to keep it fresh on their mind. Because it's just like you said, we can do all we want. You teach a kid how to throw a baseball one day, but you never practice it, then it just goes away.
Well, and the thing is too, is maybe this is something we want to put into our performance. What do you think of
I
that?
100% agree with that.
What do you think of that?
I do, yes.
So some of the other things that I was able to think of was, like we talked about, we've established morning meetings with the crews to improve communication and transparency with them.
That program, I just want to tell you, I think 10 minutes every morning connecting with the people that you're working with, to set aside some of that time. It may seem like to some a waste of time, but it's been invaluable in the front office here. I think we really we know each other better I think we talk through many of the challenges that we're having. We've come up with some great ideas, just having that set aside time. And, you know, Andrew's helping us implement that across all the departments. And so really appreciate his efforts.
One of the things too is that safety toolbox talk, and I'm gonna include legal counsel in this, is if we have a safety toolbox talk about being safe, and I go out there and go do something and hurt myself, that kind of protects us as a whole, because my main goal here is safety. And I think I shouldn't say the trustees, they agree with me. Safety's our number one prospect, is to make sure everybody needs to be safe. So I think them safety talks are really good in the morning. But I think if legal counsel will respond to that, but I think if something did happen, that would kind of, we need to protect the company.
Yeah, it does provide another layer of protection. I mean, somebody can always find a plaintiff's attorney and sue regardless of
Right.
what we do, but getting into those types of lawsuits, if we say, well, hey, we have this safety policy, you violated, whatever provision we had in the policy, we know that you're aware of this requirement because you've signed some sort of acknowledgement form and we go over it every day. Is that going to, can I say that it's going to prevent someone from filing a lawsuit? No. But it does make our position a lot stronger, because we can say, well, Your Honor, I mean, here's our policy, here's the form that this individual signed, here's, the affidavits of all the people that were in the safety meeting that day, an hour before he violated the policy and got hurt. So what else do you want us to do? I mean, it's not like we didn't tell him he would get hurt if this.
Well, and they want protection as we want protection, and I think it's very important that we do have them sign off a toolbox talk, and then you file it. Your managers have a copy of it. HR has a copy of it, and if you want to send a copy over to Clint, would be good. But we need to make sure we document that and we do sign off, especially in today's world, unfortunately.
And I don't think we have to have them sign something every day, but
No, like once a
annually
week,
or
yeah.
whatever.
We do have them sign monthly, our safety meetings, but we can definitely start to incorporate.
Well, no,
more.
I mean, that's fine, as long as we have coverage and they've signed off and they understand that, because, people out there will,
Yeah. I agree.
What I would recommend is, because the policy, I assume we're going to be updating over time. And
Yeah,
so-
it's gonna be a live document.
Yeah, so I would recommend that either annually or whenever it's updated, we go over it with the employees, have them sign an acknowledgement form that I attended this training, I received a copy of this, I've read it, I understand it. Put that with their file, do that either a year or whenever it's updated, or whatever process you think makes sense. But then have them do the whatever other trainings you're doing, because I see those as two separate things.
Yeah.
One is I got a copy of this document and I understand it, which is important. And then the other is I've been to these trainings in which we've discussed certain elements.
Right.
Absolutely.
I agree.
It's good.
Okay,
So some of the other stuff, sorry, this is taking longer than I thought. Been working alongside the employees in the field, been building relationships with them, finding training opportunities, safety matters, addressing some of the employees' concerns. I think we had some real breakthroughs in the last couple months with that.
Yeah.
With guidance from the board, we redesigned the district boot program. We've updated the AR&R Addendum H. I just recently graduated from AWWA Leadership Forum that Clint had signed me up for. And then with the help of the safety committee and the management team, we've now completed the safety manual. It's ready for review and implementation to aid with safety and accountability. And at the end of the day, I think this year, for at least the human resource end of things in department, for me, is all about creating a culture of trust, empathy, and accountability.
Yeah.
So he has a draft written now, so are you gonna go over it with the men and then just make sure everything?
It's been through several hands. The whole safety committee's went through it a couple times. I've went through it tens.
I think we were gonna-
Management teams went through it. I think it's just ready for you to peruse.
We were gonna give you highlights on a couple key things, right? But then it's in there for you to review. We're not asking for adoption this month. We'll probably bring it back next month. But, go ahead.
And we do have the policy as an addendum to the AR and Rs, and so
Yeah.
we'll discuss the AR and Rs in a little bit, but what you have is a draft. We want to make sure the text of all these documents is to your liking. If it is, what we'll do is we'll put that into, we'll go do all the formatting, get it into a final form that you could adopt
For next month.
for next month.
And how long before we have it all put together so everybody has a copy of our,
I think it could be next month.
okay, of our AR and Rs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think with the safety manual, what I would prefer to do is, once it's approved by the board and it's ready to go, I will section it out, and I'm gonna have employees sign each section,
Yes.
because OSHA likes to see documentation of how we've trained, and so that they're showing that they've seen each section individually. And so I think we're ready for it.
And I just want to echo, I think what Andrew is proposing there makes a lot of sense, because I've been at places where they're like, here's this 30-page policy, sign this form. They don't go over it, they don't explain it. And so what Andrew's proposing, I think, is, one, the best thing to do to ensure safety, because not only are we just giving them a policy, we're going through and we're explaining it. So answering their questions, and then once you've done that, then you have them sign it. I think that's the fairest to both the district and to the employee.
Okay.
It doesn't do any good to give them a big policy and not explain it to them.
Yep.
I understand that.
So, Andrew, if you're done, I just wanted to kind of provide some final thoughts. I know that the HR manager position has, obviously, we're a smaller district, but we service a lot of different facilities. We have some unique features. Andrew has taken on all of the benefits program work with some assistance from Lee Isle. He's taken on all of the staffing with the assistance of the managers. All of those typical HR duties he has performed. He responds to incidents and makes sure we're documenting any safety incidents,
And we as the board want to know about them incidents.
accidents.
We want to know when there's an incident. We want to know when,
We'd like to see the log.
we want to see the log.
Absolutely, I think he's brought that into several of the meetings, but the takeaway, I think, for me, is he's increased the accountability, right? That's the thing that, having someone that's focused on making sure we're all doing what we're supposed to be doing, in these programs with an objective view. He doesn't have any employees directly that report to him. He has a great attitude, takes great feedback from the team, and implements it. And that can be hard for some employees, right? That's a change.
It can be hard for the board too.
It can be hard, but that has been awesome. So I just wanted to say it's been a great year, Andrew. I appreciate everything.
Well, and another thing too, is I want to add to that is, it's great to get people bought into it so they feel like they're part of this team. You know, you can have everything, but if you don't have them to buy in, they're not part of the team. So you got to get people, it's like I told a couple guys last week, they were kind of complaining about a couple things, and I said, well, you've had these boxes throughout the plant. Them boxes are for complaints or suggestions, and I know a lot of people don't want to sign them, but I mean, well, yeah, I said, well, it's kind of hard to not put your name to it. Well, I don't know what the aftermath would be. I said, well, I don't think you'd have an aftermath. We want to know how you feel. We want to know what's wrong. And then if you feel like you're being harassed, you go to your manager, and if you don't get that, you can come to the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, you know, I think we need to encourage people to use them suggestion boxes or complaint boxes or whatever you want to call
I agree. I do have a couple more things to update the board on. Trevor and I attended BYU's career fair yesterday. We were able to meet with several potential candidates. We got several resumes, and I think there's a handful that are worth following up with. So we'll also be attending the U of U career fair next week, and then we'll follow up with the potential candidates. The mechanic, apprentice, we're getting close to coming back. I think we'd like to put that on the agenda next month to speak to the board about. I think through discussion with the management team and some of the evaluation that we're all in agreement that it's something that we support moving forward with. And I'd also like to let the board know that every employee now has a job description completed.
Yeah, we just see it. That's nice to know that.
Yes.
And as we go, if we have to update it, let's update it.
I think all these things, especially like the safety manual, they're all living documents that we continually update to improve as we gain more.
Okay.
That's it for the.
Okay, great.
So,
Thank you.
Oh,
Do you have a, hold on.
Safety manual, do you
yeah,
want to highlight?
I see a correction on your manual.
okay. Already.
Go ahead.
On VF tire handling.
Okay.
I don't know when the hell who could carry more than 2 tires at one time, but, and who says you can't roll the tires? We don't own any little cars or anything that have 14-inch rims. So I don't think we should be picking tires personally, but that's me.
Okay.
I think there ought to be a little allowance there for what our situation is, like a backhoe tire or,
Yeah, that's true too.
yeah.
Update the.
But I don't care if I bend my knees and grasp the tire, I'm still not gonna have a hard time elevating that tire.
Okay, it's definitely something. we can
And
do.
so I think maybe in there, we could ask for some help or something, you know, when you're handling that, because I know when I go to the tire store, they get a couple guys and they'll throw a tire in,
Yeah.
so. Do we repair the tires ourselves?
No.
Not generally.
Take them over
We
to
have a
Jack
tire
Tire
service?
Shop. Over to Jack's, don't you?
Yeah.
Because I see that's who we pay.
Okay.
You want to point out a couple of the key items from the safety manual, just to bring to their attention?
I think one thing, a couple things that definitely came out as we went through this that brought about some change in our way of thinking was the asbestos. How we're gonna handle that in the future. I think
Asbestos piping.
asbestos piping, correct.
Do we have a lot?
What's that?
Do we have a lot?
We have some in Old Part of Magna.
Yeah, there's,
And it leaves us in a weak spot with addressing it if we aren't handling it properly with proper training. And so I think it gave Raymond and myself some better options on how to go about that. And then I think the other thing that definitely has changed the way that we're gonna do operations is the respiratory protection section. We're gonna have to get everybody their own respirator, get it fit tested, and start.
See, and I don't agree with that. And I'll tell you why I don't agree. Is I think with the asbestos, we should just contract that out.
Yeah.
I don't think we should even monkey with that, because time we go get all our people fitted and all this stuff done, it's gonna cost us a lot more money than if we just contract it with a
And there's
contract.
people that will respond
And
and do
there's
that.
people that do that just for that reason.
So with the respiratory protection, I wasn't speaking specifically
Okay.
with the asbestos. I think we're all in agreement that us handling the asbestos is
Yeah.
gonna be last resort. I think we are gonna go to a contractor. Raymond's already been in contact and verified some opportunity there. For me, with the respiratory stuff, it's the chlorine.
Okay,
and
yes.
Some of the chemical
Chemical
stuff
handling.
and things like that. Where,
You may find, Andrew, that you're gonna find that some people can't wear a respirator. That's
yes,
what
and
we
that's
found
something
when we
we're gonna have
fit,
to do
we
medical
fit
evaluations
tested all
and
of
things
our
like that.
guys, and there were a few, including me, and I've never smoked in my life. The heavy smokers passed flying colors, and I had a hell of a time.
Yeah. So I think this offered us a lot of protection in those two specific spots that were highlighted. As
Okay, so then we're gonna go to another layer. So when we go to hire somebody, are we gonna have to have them make them have to wear a respirator? Cause, I mean, what's gonna be, and this is legal counsel where we need to come to, because is it something to work here, you have to be able to have to wear a respirator?
I think it's definitely something you can do as part of the medical evaluations. They have to be able to pass PFT.
Yeah, but if we're hiring an outside contractor to do.
No, I'm just saying,
there's
employee.
just to be clear, there's two separate issues. The respirator's not being driven
Yeah.
Right.
primarily by the.
Yeah. But to his point, if we're hiring a contractor to remove asbestos, that will be dealt with. There's a different level of care that we have to exercise to our employees.
Right.
That contractor is gonna have its own safety manual typically.
No, I understand
Yeah.
that part. I'm saying about, if I'm gonna hire you and I bring you in and I need you, can you wear a respirator, and you tell me no, then guess what? I can't use you here.
Not as a contract employee.
No,
You're
no,
talking
no, as
about
an,
hiring an in-house.
that's what it says, an employee.
That's what he's talking.
Oh, as an employee, if we're hiring an employee,
If they can't pass a PFT,
Yeah.
then we can hold off from offering employment.
yeah. That's a
Or,
condition.
or we have to limit where they can work.
Sure.
We have to make reasonable accommodations, and it'll depend on the job description itself. But if that's a key part of the job and we can't accommodate it,
Right, that'd be.
then we're okay to say, well, we can't hire you.
Okay,
And that shows up in a pulmonary fit test.
yeah,
There it is.
okay.
Alrighty.
The other aspect I will say on this that came to light was just, we had a lot of employee engagement and the trench safety
Yes.
was lacking. I think we've identified that there's room for improvement there. We had an employee that helped bring that to light. And I think we're gonna have some training, more frequent training that's going to help us reduce any risk there as well. So I'm excited about this. This is a great,
Yeah.
it's a great thing for the district to have in place, and appreciate all the efforts that the teams put into it.
Yeah, it wasn't a small task to have everybody read 160 pages and
Oh, I'll bet.
go through and edit and then read it again, and
That's when you bring donuts and juice, and it helps.
thank you.
Okay, let's move on to our water and sewer availability.
Okay, I will
Trevor?
cover those, board and chair. First one on there is Go Industrial Development. It's at 2090 South, 7200 West. Up here, I'll move to the map to show where it is, and
Are they next to Peterbilt or something?
so Copart is the one that's right next to it, but it's at the, if you drive straight north on 7200.
Right, it's right on that,
You get to that T, and if you just kept going, you'd run into it.
right.
Oh,
So that area is where we are. They want basically a single warehouse building. For water and sewer, we've got 12-inch drinking water right there in 72. We've got our sewer trunk main in 72 as well. And then they would have to pick up a 10-inch secondary line and bring that across their frontage. So that would bring secondary all the way to 7200. Right there, it's still a dry line, but that extension will help. And then, so with all of that, if you have any questions, I can answer those, but I recommend approval of water and sewer service.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the sewer and water availability to Geo Industrial Development located at 2090 South, 7200 West.
I'm gonna second that.
in motion, second, all in favor? Aye.
All right, moving to the next one, is called Godfrey Industrial Park Subdivision Number 3. This is, if you're familiar with the new Mountain View corridor, they came through, there's an overpass here, 2400 south, and, I think it's 24. Yes, so what they're proposing is Godfrey owns a parcel over here. What they want to do is build a private road, like essentially a cul-de-sac. They'll go back for access to those properties. Within that road, some sewer, water, and secondary to be able to service this land. Other developments we have in the area recently was the Lee Creek. Those two large warehouse buildings that are along the south frontage road. They extended drinking water and secondary water down that 5900, and they'll tie into that, bring that down. And then West Valley also had a project where they extended Beagley, and then they did a north section of 59 to bring it up to this intersection. So that had water, drinking water and secondary in it as well.
So isn't there, didn't we bring sewer and water up to that road? They'll just connect it now?
Yes, so they'll connect there, they'll move to the north, grab it from that previous development, the Brennan Lee Creek. They would, create a loop and then bring it to the west in the new road that they're creating to access.
Is it already come down that road already?
Which one?
On that one that continued, if they bring it through, I thought we bring
So
sewer and water up on that diagonal on that road.
So
No, the ones.
it's right here, drinking water and secondary. Sewer is the trickiest thing.
Oh,
We're in I've talked with Norm here, who's representing Godfrey and figuring this out. And you'll read in the, this agreement or this availability letter that the sewer is, figuring out the sewer for this is contingent on that approval.
Is that gonna come through us, the sewer, or is that gonna go over into West Vet?
It's gonna go into our system.
Okay.
We have, when Mountain View was built,
We had
we rerouted through UDOT some
that's
of our
right.
sewer.
Remember
Godfrey has another development over here that has some sewer main that services them.
So they
So
can,
it's more of a at this stage, we don't have all the answers, unfortunately. The amount of engineering that has gone into it at this point is minimal. I believe we can figure this out. It then would be determined by them if the cost is effective or not.
okay.
So I recommend approving the water and sewer with that knowledge that we're gonna go through the engineering review and the sewer is not complete.
Okay, so I have a question, Trevor. When we get these to come to us, do you ever go down and just take a look at I know we look at Google Map and all that, but do we go down and look at the project that they're,
Yeah, I have.
okay, I think it'd be
depends.
very important that we do that. I mean,
Sure.
when I was on planning and zoning, I used to do that. I'd go down and so not only did I only get that paper, but I also got to see it, firsthand.
On it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Hey, just as a point of order, Trevor, for the motion that we're making, I want to make sure I understand your proposal. So the issue is we have a project, the sewer is going to be complicated, the engineering hasn't been done.
Yep.
And so your recommendation is that the board approve it subject to the completion of a satisfactory engineering.
And that's in the letter, yes, but that is essentially it. Yes.
Showing that it can in fact connect to our system.
Right.
And so the point there, just for the record, because I've done this before, I'm not saying Godfrey or anybody would do this, but I don't want to approve it, then have there be issues with the engineering, and then have someone say, well, you've already approved it. So I just want to make clear that what you're approving today is you're approving the project subject to the completion of this engineering as set forth in Trevor's letter. And Trevor, just for the record, can you read the language in your letter?
Yeah, so it's recommendation that Magna Water District Board approve providing water and sewer service to this development contingent on an approved design of water, secondary water, and the proposed sanitary sewer line and connection to the existing sewer line.
And so your recommendation, Trevor, is that if we don't have a satisfactory design for those things, the water, secondary water, proposed sanitary sewer line, that the recommendation would terminate at that point?
That's correct.
Okay.
so it has to be followed for the guidelines you have on this
The
letter.
letter, that's correct. So you could, like Nathan said, if you want to add into the approval of this, that it, what did you say?
Yeah, I think,
That you
I think
referenced
we have your intent on the record. I just don't want there to be any question that you're approving it subject to Trevor's recommendation in this report.
Right.
With the understanding that if we don't get satisfactory engineering showing that this can be done to our comfort level, that that the approval goes away.
Right. So do you feel confident that if we follow this guideline, it should be okay?
Yep.
Have they agreed to run an 850-foot sewer line?
Well, that, I mean, that, like I said, that's
Does
part
if it's
of it.
beneficial.
They have agreed to go down this road with us to make
Does he
sure
want to
that-
speak? You're
Yeah.
welcome to speak if you'd like. Just state your name and,
My name's Norm Daly, work with Scott Godfrey and the group with this. I wish it were only 800 meters. It's about 2,000 feet of
Oh.
sewer line to get from Godfrey's property where his maintenance facility is. We exit there and diagonal down to where that cul-de-sac is, and it's, the issue there was your minimum grades. When I talked to Trevor,
Yeah.
the minimum grades, I think it was 0.194. Talked with our engineer, and he believes we can get to your minimums, without any problem. So, you know, it is an issue, obviously, I've talked to Trevor about it, we recognize if you can't sewer it, then it's a problem. But we do understand that we're complying with what the, district's minimums are. Yeah, and it includes all of what he's hashed, but it's this whole subdivision, so it's really sewering all 40 acres. There's quite a bit more. When you look at the subdivision, which is what the request is, it will take everything to the west along where the old racetrack is.
okay. So there's no way really that we could do it any different than all that footage?
Put a lift station in.
Would that be cheaper to put
Well,
it?
that's, you know, if, obviously a gravity sewer has its benefits, and that's
Right.
what we prefer on our system.
So
If there's a private lift station that hasn't
Down
been,
that road then, huh?
No, that will be installed. May I approach?
Sure.
Right now, the plan is to come out of Godfrey's, see that blue and square right there?
Yes.
Is to come out and then on an angle, come across the property and hit this point, and then we drop into the cul-de-sac. And that, I think we're running a 12-inch line, I think is what the proposal was.
Yeah, that's what it
At the
said.
flattest grade that we could run it,
Wow.
to be able to sewer that lot. Otherwise, you're putting a lift station in somewhere,
Sure.
and we still have to run the line to
Yeah,
get it
that's
to an
true, too.
outfall. So we've done the engineering, we've been out several times with the surveyor to shoot grades. And when I talked to Kerry Johansson, who submitted the plans, he seemed to think we could get that worked out, so we match your minimums.
yeah.
So, but I don't know if we've sent that back in yet or not. I asked him just to,
No, and, you know, usually at this point, you know, we don't have full design on any of the utilities. What we know is that, you know, we have our existing utilities and that they can
So-
connect to those. The sewer is where, you know, just knowing that it's gravity and there's concerns over whether or not we can meet our standards, you know, and those things. That's why this letter specifies that those things need to happen a little bit more specifically than we would on, for, you know, for a different development like the GO that you just accepted.
So does that sewer become on private property? So do we have access to the manholes that are gonna be on that?
So as part of the engineering review, if it came down to that point, we would then, yes, get easements or, you know, access roads, things that we need to maintain that.
Sewer line?
Yep.
Okay. And that's the only thing that'll be on that right of way would be sewer, no water would be on that.
Yeah. Yeah, essentially from here up to there would just be sewer. Water and secondary is all taken care of here.
So I don't think that's connected right there, so 21st doesn't go through there, right?
24th, I mean?
24th?
Yeah, it does not, no.
Will it, after you're done, will it go?
It'll be connected. You'll have a redundancy that you look forward. When that's developed,
Right.
we'll
What you submitted to me was a cul-de-sac that essentially ends right here for right now.
it roughly
So
750
this is kind of,
feet.
you know, we've called it, yeah, subdivision number 3. You might submit something in the future, that's subdivision number 4. and it'll be that expansion to the west, right? So,
All right.
Okay.
with that,
We can make it contingent on the, follow the guideline.
yes, as outlined in the letter.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome, thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to
And-
make a,
One more thought. I would suggest that you authorize Trevor to make the determination as to whether the engineering is acceptable.
yes.
That way, we don't have to bring that back to the board.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a proposal to approve the Godfrey Industrial Park subdivision number 3 development, 5900 west and 2400 south for sewer and water availability, based on the outline that Trevor has given, dated, what is that date? September 13th, 2023, and that Trevor will be reviewing that development to make sure it meets our requirement.
I'll second that.
Been motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to item J with project awards and agreements.
So, I will, take care of, the Bowman and Collins ones here, so, thank you, board and chair, that this is a task order from Bowman and Collins, for the BioBrox building modification study. So this will include, reviewing the existing building, all of the structural, electrical, mechanical. It'll then make some recommendations on modifications for operations. We'll have cost estimates, and those to follow in that study.
You got a minute?
Sure.
Raymond?
Trying to screw my grandkid on these trailers.
Kidding.
My voice must really come.
Should be good for you guys. Put that damn BioBrox over here. That's a lot of wasted space. Sure.
Mick, can I just make a statement for the record?
Yes.
So Mick has some questions about this item that I think qualify for discussion in closed session. So my recommendation is that we table this for now, we discuss it in closed.
And then we'll bring it
It's
back.
noticed up on the agenda, we can act on it, and Leal, as always, has an item in the agenda where we can act on it after the closed session.
Okay, so I motion to close,
No, no.
close, I motion to table this temporary
Okay.
till after we talk.
Okay, I'll second it.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to number
Wait, do we
two.
have a vote on the table?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye.
Thought I heard.
Next, item on there, number 2, is the EDR stack replacement, from, Veolia. Solutions USA. And Raymond and I have worked on this together along with Joel. He's not here. But giving you just kind of a brief bullet point of what this is and kind of how we'll implement them. Because there is a little difference between these stacks and the existing stacks that are in the EDR. So the existing ones are, some highlights, 600 cell pair. These new ones are 750. And then we've outlined, some of the things that will happen because of that additional 150 cell pair. We'll see some different treatment. And then what that can do for us in the alternative section there is, if we maintain our current blend, then the water quality to the system goes up a little bit. And this is all, we're just doing the first
Preventative maintenance.
train. And it's really like Raymond just said, a preventative maintenance issue. Our stacks are beyond their design life.
Yeah.
So we want to start a system of replacement. And that's what this is a part of.
And we have
So
the
the first,
is the
this will
first
replace
step.
the first stage, but the first stage will be moved to this, or
This will replace the first stage on one train.
Yeah,
Okay.
so 8 units
So
or
that
8
was-
stages.
And so with the new ones, we only have room to go 750,
750.
600 to 750.
They don't make 600 anymore, so that's why we're jumping up to the 750 for better quality of water with the 750s.
they basically made it more efficient within the same footprint.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. So, yeah, this is a little more information. And then I'll just, I want to point out at the end there, we've talked about some water quality, some corrosion and scaling prevention. And what we did with Joel is look at the chemistry within the system and the water, and looked at this Langelier saturation index, which is an indicator of the corrosivity and scaling potential within your system based on your water quality. And what we found with this change in the water quality that would come from that 750 pair, we stay essentially in the same range along that Langelier saturation index. So we're confident and took that step so that we know that when we're now supplying a slightly different quality of water, chemistry, those things, that we're not negatively impacting our customers, creating.
Is that much difference
other
they would notice it?
concerns. What's that?
They would notice it?
That's
no.
what we're checking. That's what we checked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just-
yeah, essentially the change in the treatment does not, once it's in the distribution and not the tap, it's not changing anything within
And I
it.
get people complain, I said, have you checked your water softness? No. They usually shut right up when it comes in.
Yeah, so,
It is a lot better than it has been.
What this allows us to do is, if we want to provide a better water quality, we have the option to do that without increasing our concerns with lead and copper. Essentially, we're not necessarily going to be pulling more lead or copper.
Yeah, we're not.
Or we're not massively taking an aggressive environment where we're going to pull a bunch of material off our mains.
Yeah.
Right, that's our
Which
concern.
would be the corrosive, that's why we looked at the
Okay.
index on it.
Yeah, I see that, looks good.
Okay.
And this is the first step, but more, like I said, I'm looking at trying to do eight stacks a year. Cause right now they were estimated at 10 years, we're at 13 years. So
Wow.
we exceeded by 3 years, so we
We
wanna
wanna
kinda
get
get this in a
good.
plan for every year.
Right.
Do a replacement on 8 stacks per train.
And we will have participation with our partner,
Yeah.
Northrop.
No,
Are they okay
Yes.
with that?
Yeah.
Do we have to get their approval?
We've been working with them and letting them know.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
I thought they
it's in
were,
their budget too, so they was notified.
Because they're gonna split the cost, right?
right,
Yep.
weren't they? I thought they were.
Okay. Okay, do you
Are we
want?
making a motion on it?
Yes, we're gonna have to motion it, right? For the,
Let me see your book.
Purchase.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to motion to approve the EDR stack replacement from VOA WTS Solutions in the amount of $530,708.
I'll second that.
in motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the manhole covers.
Mr. Chairman, this is our next rehab project. It's a manhole lining and rehabilitation project. It's anywhere from 20 to 25 manholes based on the price that we budgeted. And they're gonna get started on this. Should take about 2 months depending on weather. So this is something that we budget for and we try to do each year. So this will be the next 20 to 25 manholes.
Okay,
Has he did ours before?
He has, and it's the same coating, so.
Oh, okay. Because I don't remember ever having Don Calvert. I know him personally. He does a lot of painting for Dominion. He does a lot of painting for a lot of,
He first started with subdivisions. He was doing it, you know, in the areas, we've gone proactive where if the subdivision's going in an area we know's got problems, they've got to line coat them ahead of time, you
Oh,
know.
wow.
So we've been having them do that. That's where we've
well,
been,
that'd be a lot cheaper.
developed a comfort level with his product.
Okay, cool.
awesome.
And he's the same contractor, Mr. Chairman, that did the EDR.
Okay,
He's good. Been around a long time. So let me make a motion.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve 2023 sewer manhole rehabilitation project to Don Calvert Painting for the amount of not to exceed $250,000.
I'll second that.
in motion, second, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's, on the generator.
Mr. Chairman, this is a generator that we're looking at for Zone 3. For, drinking water. In case of a power outage, we're, concerned that we need backup now that the school's being built and, all the development in the area.
Listed as a priority in our emergency response plan.
Yes.
Okay.
So this cost includes the generator, the pad. That area over there is right next to the 5 million gallon
Yeah, right.
reservoir. And so locating this generator and the size, is a little more challenging than just set it right next to a building on a flat spot.
Oh, so you're gonna put it inside the?
No, but there's a little bit of slope adjustment that we have to do and some things.
So do we have to worry about any noise in that situation?
No, it'll be,
Next to them
you know,
apartments.
it's basically right near the intersection, it's,
Okay.
it's away, but there's gonna be road noise and things that would overtake that.
Okay.
So I got a question for you there.
Noise.
I guess, is there any way that anybody could play around with it? Is it gonna be pretty secured?
It is secure.
Okay,
facility,
awesome, okay, good.
And it is camera.
We did also go with a little larger tank size to make
Yeah,
sure
we
we
went
had.
with the 1,400 gallon tank, so.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a proposal to, a motion to approve the purchase of the 300 KW 40 volt Cummins generator from S&S Electric for Zone 3 in the amount of $193,041.
Second that.
in motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, meter work purchased.
Mr. Chair, I'll cover that if you
Okay.
like. This is a proposed purchase to order our meters for 2024 because of the lead time that we have in getting them.
Excuse me.
Bless you. So, included in the packet is just the PO, so it would include, 1,014 meters, and we propose 900 of those be for replacements to continue on our meter replacement program we're doing.
Okay.
And then 15, 1 inch, 10, 1.5 inch, and so forth. It also secures the price, of these meters, because.
We did that last year, correct?
Yep.
Yep.
And just FYI, I haven't got the final counts, but so far we've replaced probably 1,200,
Oh.
12 to 1,400 this year in 2023, along with new construction. So we've probably installed, just off the top of my
So I'm not
head,
gonna ask you how many
1,500.
more we gotta put in, but okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing that Leal's been working towards, to make sure that we're on a 10-year cycle, we're really close, right?
Yeah, we are. We're, by the end of next year, we'll be 2-3 years out before we're all under 10 years in the system.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
If we continue at this rate.
Okay.
I think we're saving money though if we stay ahead of it and you order ahead of time, give them a little leeway. They seem to be working with you, don't they?
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. Especially with the pricing.
Let me see it works, so I make a motion. You ready to make a motion?
Yeah, go for it. Sorry,
No,
Danny,
sorry.
interrupt me.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the meter stock purchase from MeterWorks in the amount of $469,499.16 to be delivered in 2024.
Second that.
Been motion second, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay, are you at UASD annual membership dues?
This is just the annual dues. They base it on our budget.
Okay,
And this is the amount that it comes in at. And I believe UASD does a tremendously good job for special districts. They keep us informed, they train us. I just think it's well used. Any other comments?
nope.
Nathan or whatever?
Well, I'm a little biased because I'm one of the ex-board
Yeah.
Well, if
members.
it goes over $1 next year, we're done, no?
Yeah, but my personal opinion, I just, you know what, we're your lobbyists at my firm. But honestly, the UASD does most of the lobbying. I just need to update you a couple times.
Right.
If I were doing all of your lobbying, it would be a whole lot more than $12,000.
It would?
Oh, yeah. Because they go to all the hearings, they do the updates, so
Wow.
I think they're a steal at that price.
Good deal.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the UASD annual membership dues in the amount of $12,000.
I'll second that.
Been motion second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, administration.
I can give an intro to this, if that's okay, Mr. Chair. This is the review and discussion on proposed draft red line changes to the AR&Rs.
Okay.
So just a little bit of recap of where we got to here. If you remember right, there was a draft that was proposed right before Danny came on the board, and the direction from the board was to hold off on it, on those red lines. And so we went through as a group, and we took out all those red lines.
They're the ones I never read.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're
I'm very
the-
familiar with them now.
Yeah, we took those out and started over as a group, and we had a work session, and we talked through a bunch of the concerns from the board and the management team at the time. And we then got together and went to work on a draft. At the same time, we incorporated quite a bit of the recommendations from the auditor, the state auditor's office, with Nathan's help and Leal's help. So there's a substantial improvement, or quite a bit more to cover us and protect us from concerns that would generate auditor issues. So there's a substantial component in there for the auditor's recommendations. There are quite a bit more details on the finance and procurement portions that we've included, which I think gives, remember before we were referring to the UASD manual, and we have brought in those details so that it's all in one place.
In a much more condensed.
In a much more concise and easier to follow. We have also reviewed those procurement amounts and made recommendations based on current inflation over the time period that's changed. So we've changed amounts in there that we'll bring your attention to. We have also had a union contract that has been negotiated, and all of the changes from the union contract we wanted to incorporate.
Okay.
We have included a rewrite of, well, actually a whole new policy on social media and internet usage that's in there. We've added the safety policy manual. We've incorporated recent changes to from the legislative session that we wanted to make sure we were adopt. So this has been quite the process, and it's easy to forget. I
Yes.
wanted to give a high level. We are just bringing this as a draft for the board to be able to review. We're happy to go through in detail to the level that the board wants, but we're not asking for approval at this time.
I see a couple things I'm
So,
concerned about,
yeah.
like the function of the Board of Trustees.
Yes.
Yeah, in every case, the will of the board shall be expressed by at least a majority of vote of the board, and that's deleted out. I just wondered,
Yeah, Nathan,
That's already included in code. That's by law.
Yes, it's by law.
I mean, we can put that back in if it's,
well, I just wondered that it says in a couple places, so I just wondered. And the board shall review this document every 2 years, and now they've got annually, which is fine. When do we review it?
I think it was annually, and we did two.
actually, I'm not sure if you're reading, what page are you on?
It's like page 7. 2.4. Or 2.4.
2.4.
Because many of these changes were made over a
Actually,
year ago.
2.3.4. 2.3.4.
Oh, the will of the board's not deleted.
No, that's in there.
I think there was another
There was a space that was
space.
deleted.
That, yeah.
There was an extra
Deleted the
space.
space?
Just a space.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So no,
It doesn't say space deleted.
Every little.
It underlines like it took the whole thing out.
no, but you gotta look at the arrow. So no, that is what it says. In
Oh,
every
okay.
case, the will of the board shall be expressed. And
Never
we
mind.
changed it from annually to every 2 years. And the reason for that
Yeah,
is, I think, having gone through this with a number of clients, especially when you have very detailed rules like you do, it's a lot easier to update these things on the fly. And so my suggestion is we just keep kind of a running tally.
Yeah.
And we don't have to wait every 2 years. But I just think it's good to just, because if this took a year to do.
This was we did quite a bit with this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Nathan said, we'd recommend for the board from here on out, if we have an issue that comes up that the board wants addressed, or that Nathan finds from the legislative session, or that we come out of the union contract, we just take care of it as it comes.
okay.
But at least every 2 years, no, we don't go further than that.
Yeah, because you're going to have different types of amendments. You're going to have things that, okay, the legislature told us we have to do this, or, our fee schedule doesn't work or whatever. But then you're going to have things like, okay, this is something we want to address the next time. It's not urgent. So my suggestion is we just keep a running list as we go through these things. So Clint and your executive management team, as things come up, they just have kind of a master list. And then every 2 years, we say, okay, here's the things we'd like to change. That way, this could be done in a matter of months rather than a year and a half.
Unless it's a pressing issue.
It makes it easier if you show what you deleted.
There was a lot of change.
Yeah, because we had some classes on that. We went through.
we
and-
went-
Yeah, so this
does.
this version of the draft, we've accepted all the changes that
right,
we've gone
right.
through with you before.
Okay.
What this shows are just we've had a number of staff level workshops. This just shows the latest round of edits from the last version that you've
Okay,
seen, but it's
okay.
been a while.
But to his point, the reason that just says deleted is because it's a space.
Yeah.
Anything that actual words or letters are deleted show up.
Well, and I've seen that
changed all that.
it's actually got a little better description in there too, which is really good.
Go
Yeah.
through this and see what-
The other thing that I just want to make clear, in terms of next steps, this type of a large document with subheadings and numbers is a beast to format. And so it is not in a final format version. We wanted to wait until you guys are okay with the language, because every time we change something or move it around, we have to reformat the whole document. So once we get your approval on the language, I will have my staff go through and put this into a final format. So I just want to be clear, and there's a comment up at the top. There are spacing issues, you'll see numbering issues. It's just, we wanted to wait until the content was to your liking before we spend the time getting it into. And the other thing that I'll do when it comes back, if this is I will put together a written resolution. I think that that's better for this type of document, so you have a record that we can include in the minutes of, here's what we've done, here's why we're doing it, and just for the file. So those are the next steps. We bring that back. The other thing that I want to note, in addition to what Clint mentioned, is we've also included your new water fee schedule in the addendum. We've included the new executive compensation requirements in the packet. And a lot of what we've tried to do, to Clint's point, with the auditor's recommendations is just include their templates. So you'll see some more policies at the back, for instance, on credit cards, and an ethics hotline reporting form that people can use if they've got an issue. Those come pretty much directly from the auditor. So that's where it is now. It still requires a lot of cleanup and formatting, but hopefully the language is what we've discussed.
Okay.
So we're not making a motion on it?
So we just wanted to highlight some of those things, but we'll take direction from the board on, if you like where we're going, we can bring.
I think that's perfect.
We can
it looks
bring
good.
this, we can bring this back for a more formal
I think that looks
approval
really good.
next
think
time,
it looks
but you'll
good.
have time in the meantime, if anything,
Okay.
if there's any questions, let us know.
Okay,
But I
thank you.
will say it's gonna take my staff, I'd say at least 2 weeks to
No,
get the
yeah.
formatting done.
Or longer.
Yeah, so I would like to have a cutoff for her. So, because where it gets hard for her is if she goes through and numbers everything and gets the pagination all set up, and then you're like, hey, we want to add a whole other thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
no.
gee.
I guess the question then would be, have you had enough time? I mean, we haven't given you a whole lot of time yet. Would you like more time to go through before we take the step?
Could we bring it back to us next month?
Yeah,
Or is that too long?
October, it's the third week of October.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess,
That
so
enough time?
let's do this. Let's assume that this is good.
Right.
I'll have my staff put it into a final form, and then we can still make additional changes at that point in time if you want.
Because as I looked at it, I thought it looked really good.
Yeah, I think it's.
And
got
we
a
went
lot
through
more
it
clarity.
really good, too.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, good.
we've already, most of the substantive big things that you guys had named as a priority, we
Got
fixed
taken
a
care of,
long
yeah.
time ago.
Yeah, we done
It's
that.
what we've been working on more
Terry did.
recently. The challenge is why
Terry
we
did.
needed so many updates is between when this was initially adopted and where we are now is there were a number of, I wouldn't even say districts, but municipalities and other public entities that had some issues. And that prompted the legislative auditor and the state auditor to come up with a number of best management practices. So when this was initially created, we didn't have all of those. And so I'm hoping the next time, now that we've incorporated most of them, we don't have to do a lot. So, but most of what we've been talking about recently is going through these suggested but not required best management practices to determine if they make sense for the district. We haven't adopted all of them.
The one of them ones that we haven't, which we'll take direction from the board on, is the auditor does recommend a audit committee,
And I think that's a good idea.
which we think is a good idea. It's just the practical aspect of, it's quite the commitment of time and of people with expertise
Yeah, that's true too.
to audit it. So we felt like if we were to take this in a staged approach, we would implement pretty much the majority of them. Besides, that was the one that we felt like, well, we'd talk with the board and get feedback, but that's a pretty big,
Right.
we don't know if we're to the size of a district that can justify getting to that level without a substantial change.
Well, see, and I agree too with that.
So,
And the other logistical problem with the audit committee, and I think the auditor's recommendations are very good, but they're more often than not geared to a much larger district and larger board. And this one in particular, what they want on that audit committee are at least 2 board members, which in your case creates a quorum. And
Yeah,
so
it
every
does.
audit committee would be a public meeting that would require all of this. And so my thought on it is it's not required. We're doing really well
Right,
on the
let's just leave it
transparency
alone.
stuff. I see that recommendation as being geared to like a Jordan Valley board, where you could have 5 separate members be the audit committee and it wouldn't trigger
Right.
the Open and Public Meetings Act requirements. And that, I think, was always the intent, that you guys could meet outside and
right,
come
right.
back and report to the full board.
Okay. So let's just leave it alone.
Well, shouldn't we approve it to be moved ahead?
Yeah, if
Yeah,
you're
if you
fine
want.
with it the way it is, then
Yeah,
I
we
think a
can vote.
motion to authorize us to put it in finalized form and bring it back would be
I
appropriate.
think we're fine.
Okay, so, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a a motion to approve or to move ahead with our proposed draft red line, to put it into a final draft, a final for the rules and regulations.
Second that.
In motion, second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, Digital Development Extension Agreement.
Okay, so, our extension agreement, as you know, for any new development that comes in, you know, we go through the engineering review process, we've got the plans all the way, we want them, they've bonded, they've paid their development fees, and then, we've scheduled a pre-construction meeting, and they're gonna sign this agreement as kind of the final thing that ties the developer, the contractor, and the district all together to, put in the improvements in the development per our standards, and, you know, it also outlines, the whole extension agreement has a lot of other information, on our rates and fees and all of those things. But what this kind of focuses around is, right now, we print out 4 copies. They're hand signature, you know, wet signatures, and they're notarized. Takes a lot of time for Mikey, depending on, you know, how many of those that come through. She notarizes them all. And a lot of times, you know, effort on my end to get 3 different groups to sign and go through that whole process. So we talked a while ago with Nathan on, you know, could we make it digital? Do we need the notary? We looked into digital notary, and that's a pretty cumbersome process to get that. Mikey would have to do quite a bit to get that and maintain it. The digital one is different than, you know, her paper one right now. And then we decided that, you know, we can probably modify this to where we don't need that notary. And, yeah, go ahead.
And the only real thing that we lose by not notarizing it is the ability for usually the developer to record the agreement on their property. A notarization is a requirement to record, and so, but I don't know if we're doing that now or if that's been really an issue, so.
No.
My suggestion would be is if we do have a developer that comes in and says, hey, I'd really like to record this, or for whatever reason we want to record it, say for instance, it's a very contentious thing and we're worried they're not gonna comply with it or sell it, we can always add a notary block to it if we need to.
Yep. So,
So this would help on a lot of the storage,
Yeah,
I'll be honest,
40% of this.
so
are
we
those.
have, yeah.
this
we-
is a big deal in terms of storage.
paper.
This would make a big dramatic reduction in our storage.
You know, and
requirement.
also cost,
But for that-
every time we print these, it's $140.
Yeah.
To create them, you know, Leal's already done the research on a program that'll allow us to make it digital and for them to sign. It's the same thing that the customers are signing through that program. So we'll be able to set this up in there, and just, you know, send it to the developer, send it to the contractor, and then through email, just like a DocuSign
Okay.
that I'm sure you're all familiar with.
So is there amount of money that we pay in this agreement, or is it just we're doing our own agreement?
We've always done our own. they've just been paper, so now moving it to digital is just eliminating the paper.
Oh, good.
And I think, you know, on my end, it'll be easier to coordinate signatures. I can just send an email and they can all sign it instead of sitting here for 30 minutes, you know, passing books, 4 books around and signing each book, and, you know, it's just.
So, Leal, is there a cost for the program that you found that?
Yeah, I believe we are already paying that because we're accepting our customers' applications online.
Okay, cool.
Good deal, like that.
It always kind of made sense when she made that shift. It kind of lined up with this. And I think start with this, and then there's some potential for some other engineering documents that can be made digital.
Do we need to make a motion on this?
To
Yes.
make the extension
Yes.
agreement digital.
Well, this is gonna be another addendum to the AR&Rs.
Right.
And so we
Alright,
could approve
it's-
it then,
Let's just.
or if you wanna start using it now, it would be helpful to have them approve it.
I mean, if you are comfortable approving it now, then I can just, you know, get the next development.
Yeah, well,
Lined
it
up
sounds
with
like
that.
you've got pretty
Yes.
well everything
Yeah.
tied down, so, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the digital development extension agreement.
I'll second that.
Good motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, amendment to the interlocal between Hunter Granger.
Is that you?
Yeah, this is something that Leal and myself and Nathan, Leal has been the one with the most historical knowledge of and tracking of the agreement, and so it made sense to have her take the lead and give you a summary of what does this mean for the district?
So I don't know if you remember, Granger Hunter came to us about a year ago and we brought this to you. And the board, or staff management, we looked at it and I felt like it would be more cumbersome than what we were doing now.
Right.
And it wouldn't give the district the current amount for our property taxes that we should be getting. Anyway, so Granger Hunter went back to their legal and said, we need to, you know, they don't like this draft, let's try this. So this is the second draft that they've brought to us. And this will basically clean up the crossover connections to where Magna Water District will bill for the services they are providing. We are billing for that now, we are getting money for that now, but
Right.
it goes directly to Granger Hunter.
Right.
It doesn't go to the residents out in the district's boundaries. So they're proposing that Magna Water bill directly the residents that we are serving, vice versa for
So did
them.
we not do that though? Did we always, or have they always?
We've always billed Granger Hunter.
Oh, okay, so
directly.
now we're just gonna start billing the residents.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
that makes
So
more sense,
it
really.
will, yeah, exactly. It will have our connection numbers a little more accurate because we've got, I don't know, 200-300 that we don't count in our connections for sewer
Right, cause, yeah.
when we really do service them.
Are down there along
So
there.
it'll help that. But as far as the property tax portion of those that we're servicing, for the sewer portion, that's gonna remain the same, and I feel confident that we're getting our fair share for the crossover connections if we keep it the same. It's a little cumbersome to calculate, but you gotta do what you gotta do to get the money that you need, so.
Okay.
But the board could get a call, or we wanted to make sure you were aware, this could have, since a customer's getting a bill from someone
thanks.
else,
Yeah,
now they might call and say, why am I getting billed
For Magna
Magna
Water.
Water? Yeah, and it's a different rate.
it's
So
too
they-
bad.
It is, ours is a little higher than Granger Hunter's, so they're gonna get billed a little more
For sewer.
for sewer.
Okay,
There were a couple things Leal and I wanted to go over with the board. Leal was out of town yesterday, but she has a question about whether we want to add a provision to this agreement, and there isn't one now, to deal with properties that we want to add in the future.
Oh, okay.
Right now, this is set up so that it just deals with what we have on the books. And so there's an exhibit that outlines which properties we have and which properties they have. But the question that I think you had, Leal, was do we want to add a provision that allows us to add other properties without having to amend the agreement?
Right.
So that would require a change to what's there now. And I don't think it would be a hard change, it's just something we'd have to add. The other thing I wanted to go over, and this is, I just want to make sure that we go into this with our eyes open. I think this is a good agreement. I think it's a fairly simple agreement. I think it's a fairly standard agreement. But it does include an indemnity provision, which are standard for these types of agreements, but I just want to make sure everyone knows what that would mean. And basically what that means is if Hunter Granger does something negligent and we get sued as a result, or vice versa, we do something negligent, they get sued as a result, we would have to defend them and vice versa. And so those types of provisions, I mean, the benefit of that is if their folks do something stupid and we get sued over it, they'd have to protect us. Or the downside is if folks do something stupid, we're not just defending ourselves, we're potentially defending them as well.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean that even without that type of provision, they could still maybe make that claim against us in litigation, which I think in this situation is rare. But I did want you to be aware of that commitment that we are making. The other approach, if you're uncomfortable with that, is just a hold harmless provision that just says, look, if anything happens, we're just all take care of our own litigation expenses and we won't bother with that. I don't know if we were to revise this to be something like that, what they'd say. I think as written, as an indemnity provision goes, it's pretty standard. But I just wanted you to be aware that it's in there, that we'd be committing to do that, and just that these types of provisions can be kind of tricky to enforce. But in this type of situation where we're dealing with another government entity, I think the chances it would come up are rare. I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Okay.
And also, I guess everyone knows we've been under some type of interlocal agreement for
Since 2006.
years.
Yeah, we've
That
had,
was the newer one, but
yeah.
even before that.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they're referenced here. So if this agreement is acceptable to you and you would like us to add the provision that the aisle has highlighted,
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Whatever you guys think is gonna work,
so what I would suggest is that you approve it subject to Leal and I
Okay.
developing that provision and getting them to sign on to it.
Okay.
That way we don't have to bring it back.
Before we have to do that, Trevor, is there any areas on the GHID boundaries where we would have to, do they have development areas around our boundaries that we might service them?
In the future?
Yeah.
Well, we can have Trevor look at that first.
Okay.
So are we gonna approve the amended?
Well, there's two things we could do. The first is that you could just authorize us to go in, revise it, come up with language, and we could bring that back.
Okay.
Okay.
Or you could just approve it and then just delegate the responsibility of coming up with that language to us.
What would be the best way to do it?
It's your call. Either one works.
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
I mean,
If you want to
still
see it
gonna-
again, then the best call would be to have us revise it and bring it back for you to approve. If you don't want to see it again, you can delegate us to do it.
Let's just
I
let
would
them,
say they know what they're doing.
yeah, let's let them do it.
I would, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the interlocal agreement between Granger Hunter Improvement District and Magna Water District for crossover connections, and authorize them, our administration to make changes to make that agreement more palatable.
In motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to number 4. Motion to approve Clint Dilly as the member, and I'm the alternate.
This is the annual.
This is the,
Go
no,
ahead.
I, to be honest, this isn't much commitment
No.
of time.
Okay.
I think it's more of a,
That's a question, Nathan. Maybe we could talk to UASD. Why do they have to have a motion? I don't know.
It's part of their bylaws. And actually, while we're talking about
Okay.
the UASD, they are converting to a 501c6, which is a type of nonprofit. I think they've been a 501c3. I think the reason for that is it's well, actually, I don't know if they were a 501c3, but they're doing the change so they can lobby, to clearly be able to lobby, which is a lot of what they do. So it's just, I think it's in their bylaws. The reason for that is they want to avoid a situation in which someone shows up at a board meeting and votes on something,
yeah.
and they don't know who it is.
That's really the only, it's the once a year voting on,
At the convention.
Yeah.
Or at the training.
Okay.
so it's not,
But their forms say it requires a motion from our board.
It does,
That's why
because,
it's always on here.
yeah, the reason why it because What they don't want is someone who just shows up that they've never seen before, that they don't know, and they don't know is authorized. And so their bylaws require you, because you're the appointing body.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Clint Dilly as a member of, and Mick Sudbury as alternate member to the UASD Board of. Oh, you want, Doug? You want to?
I just,
I'll second that.
it's been motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey, whatever you want.
Our next board meeting is October 19th, 2023.
I just put mine in.
Okay,
Okay. Does someone want to make a motion to close the open and go into closed?
I can do that. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to meet immediately in closed meeting to discuss character, professional competence, physical or mental health of an individual, collective bargaining strategies, the purchase and exchange or lease of real property, including any form of a water right or water share pursuant to Utah Code 52-4-204 through 205.
I'll second that.
It's been motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Hey, you guys might want to stay close so when we come back on that.
Go.
Okay, does someone want to make a motion to close the close and open the open at 2:18?
Make a motion. Make a motion to
To reopen.
close the close and reopen the public board meeting.
I'll second that.
It's been motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
It's 2:18, right? Or
Oh,
2:20?
excuse me, 2:20.
Okay. Okay, we have, do you want to bring back, the table
For the
for,
maintenance,
yeah.
maintenance shop. What's it called?
Project and awards agreements.
What did he call it?
BCA.
BioBrox.
No, what did he call it?
Building modification study
Building modifications.
Yeah,
by Bone and Collins.
Okay,
where's that? It's right here, just.
it's J1.
Oh, okay. We'll keep that.
Email it to me or something.
Yeah.
I can pick it up next time, maybe.
Yeah, I
What the heck is it? Oh, here it goes. So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the
need that.
Bone and Collins Associates Task Order 23-03 in the amount of $26,361 for the building modification study.
I'll second that.
In motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, do we have any other business that needs to be brought up to the board? Any other decisions?
Do we have anything else?
So I do have one decision, and I brought this up to Clint. For now on in our board meetings, I want you guys to be very stern to the board. When we are addressing something, I want you guys to look at the board and ask us if we understand what we're talking, what you guys are mentioning to us. Because if you don't, and we misread what goes on, shame on you guys. So you guys need to be stern with us when something comes up that we're approving that's important, real important, which is all important. You need to make sure the board is understanding what you're saying. And as the board, we need to ask them if we don't understand that, because it's only fair. Just so we're all on the same page.
Good reminder. Thank you.
Because I had to make a decision today I didn't like. Okay, does someone want to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to
thank you.
close the meeting.
I second it.
It's been motion second, all in favor? Aye.